But so prisoners, inmates, they're kind of behind the times here because they're not exposed to modern activities.
Well, they have, you have most of the guys that lack a high school diploma, so they're encouraged to get the GED. They take different classes in preparation for that, which is good because you need that. And I always encourage the men, you got to go for your education. That's very important. But basically, it's just getting your GED. And once you get that, there really isn't much else, to strive for.
Can you go for college courses here?
They had college many years ago. In fact, I did receive a 2-year college degree with the New York State University system. But Governor Pataki had stopped all the college programs many years ago and gutted all that. So there really isn't anything left. They're trying to start colleges back, but it's a lot different. You could take like one course, that type of thing, where at one point, a while back, they had prisoners going to full-time college if they qualified. And it was very, rigorous. You had to really apply yourself. You had to really, do your best, just like anyone going to college.
Now, what about an inmate who doesn't speak English? Are there translators here?
Yeah, well, they do offer, English as a second language, and I guess that's a handicap and a struggle. Yeah, you do have men occasionally that very limited English, yeah. Because in prison, that's the thing about prison, you have men coming in from all walks of life, and some guys come from other countries. They came to America to look for a better life and ended up getting into trouble. In fact, in my journal, I've written about some of those, individuals, changing the names and so forth, but how they came. Like one fellow that I knew for a number of years, he transferred on, but we used to talk a lot, and he was in the mental health block. So when I'd visit there, I'd spend time with him, and he had come up with his family from Honduras to seek a better life. Ended up falling in with a gang in Jackson Heights, Queens. They did some silly robbery. He ended up in prison. Now he's going to he's facing deportation when he's done with his time. But you think, wow, people come, to America to look for a better life and end up in prison, and then have their language barriers. Yeah.
Is that you have a chapter called the Devout Jew?
Yeah.
Is that the individual you're talking about?
No, that was someone else. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about him?
Okay, I'm trying to remember. One of the things I seldom do is to actually reread my own journal writings. Usually when I'm done with them, I'll send them to my friends and I'll keep copies just to have, like, for a backup. But I don't even really, I'm so busy, my days are so busy and full, I really don't even stop to reread some of my older entries. I go for years without even rereading them. But there was a fellow who was, again, you're in prison, you meet people from all walks of life. So this particular fellow, we got close, and I was sharing my faith with him. He was sharing his beliefs with me, and he also left the country. I think he was from Colombia. Right. Yeah, he was right. He was from Colombia, and he wanted to go to Israel. He had some influential rabbis from this area up in the Catskills trying to help him out with the State Department or immigration to try to get him to Israel, get his release from Israel. But I think he had ended up going back to Colombia. He didn't want to return to that country.
According to your writing, because
yeah.
He's probably lost at this point.
Yeah, he had lost everything and has his own issues to deal with. Yeah, he didn't want to go back, Whatever his situation was, I don't know, but yeah.
I think we have. Want to stop it?
Okay.
David, there are a lot of troubled children today, and you read about gangs, people who think going to prison is a big deal, and it's a notch on their belt.
Yeah.
What is your advice for teens?
Wow, well, that's I think a lot of young people are not always weighing all the consequences of their actions, and they're not always picking their friends wisely. A lot of guys that I met in prison over the years could swear up and down that if they weren't with so-and-so at the time, or if they weren't with this group at the time, that they never would have come to prison, that they never would have committed a crime. And you know, peer pressure and so forth and other influences have a lot to do with it. Even the media sometimes makes you know, bad behavior look glamorous, and they never tell you of the consequences. So a lot of men come into, you know, do things on impulse, especially young people, and the consequences are devastating. The same thing with like driving while intoxicated. You know, you can do it 20 times and nothing can happen, and on the 21st time, you know, you smash up your car and lose your life. If you would ask that person if they thought they were going to get in an accident before they got in that vehicle and lost their life, they would, you know, have said no. And that's the way it is sometimes even with young people. They just get in over their heads and they can't get out, and so it's kind of sad to see a lot of ruined lives, you know, coming into the system.
Have you seen a pattern, a certain psychological pattern that you see in inmates?
Well, a lot of guys wanted to be rap stars, but they ended up being prison inmates, so something went wrong somewhere. I think a lot of, yeah, I know it's, you know, you can't put everything into one basket. I'm sure guys have a lot of trouble, you know, growing up in the city and everything, but you know, they needed to stay in school and get their education. They needed to pick their friends wisely. They stood out on the street corner and fell in with the wrong crowd and ended up in prison, yeah.
Now, looking back, if you look at the events leading up to your incarceration, do you think if you had counseling or if you were on medication, do you think that would have helped at all?
Well, I don't know. What I learned from my own, you know, personal experience, because, you know, when you're in prison, you do, it's like a place to do a lot of introspection. You know, the time you're in your cell at night, the door closes, and a lot of inmates, it's a time when you're alone with yourself, which can be kind of scary, because then you either live in denial or you face the reality that you messed up real bad, you did some terrible things to put yourself in here. And looking at it, my problems, I didn't see that I had family. You know, I had family who loved me, but for whatever reasons, I couldn't open up to them, and I regret that so much. If I would have opened up to my dad, he could have perhaps, you know, steered me in a better direction or given me some good advice, helped me to get out of the environment I was in. But I kept everything to myself. I stayed with a smaller group of people, and we were not honest with one another. You know, I just wish I had shared more what the struggles I was going through. I think a lot of young people, I was in my early 20s, I think a lot of young people need to find that special friend or that family member where they could really share their heart with. Too many, you know, teens or adolescents, they keep things bottled up inside. They can't, or they won't talk to their parents or the teachers, counselors, people. They think maybe people won't listen, and so they try to handle their own problems. They have hurts, pains, other concerns that they need to open up more.